we are going to paint clouds today, as you can see. I thought I would pick a reference that had some color to it, because that'll make it kind of easier for us to separate the clouds and see each one, and just have a little bit of fun with it. So painting clouds is really, it's not hard. You just have to really go soft. Remember always what it is you're painting, and when you're painting clouds, they have a lot of volume to them. There's a big mass, but also there's a lightness to them. So you want to make sure that you are not going heavy. You also have to look at where the light is coming from. They will have shadows on them, and especially like a darker sky, like right before it's going to rain, you are going to have some darker shadows. And the most important thing is to try to identify them in your image, or if you're looking at an actual sky in front of you. So there are lots of different techniques to painting clouds. So I'm going to show you two basic ones, and you can you can play around with them. Sometimes you might use both techniques or another technique that you already know how to do and you're comfortable with. So I'm going to show you those two methods, and we do have kind of a very simple landscape at the bottom, and I just think the transition of colors is really pretty, and it'll give us something fun to work with. So the first of the two methods I'm going to show you is one where you take out the clouds. You kind of pick them out of the color. And to start, maybe we can go to the easel. Am I on the easel now? Yeah? No? Can I be on the easel? On the iPhone? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a big puddle of blue. And I've got, make sure that you do have a paper towel for this. So I have my paints. I have a paper towel. And what we're going to do is we are going to make a big puddle of blue. So let's use kind of just the basic blue that's in there, and we're going to take a look and see what it gives us. Now, all of you have different different blues in your kits. So I'm going to put some water, and I'm going to try out that blue. This is kind of hard to, so I'm making a big puddle of blue. See? And keep adding until it gets to the color that you want. I'm going to try a little bit over here. It's very light. I think I'm going to need some more. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. Now, if your blue seems too bright and it doesn't look too much like the sky, there's a little trick you can do. And I'm gonna take another one of these little sides of the box, and I'm gonna show you what that's gonna do. So I'm gonna take some of that blue that I mixed, and I'm gonna take literally a drop of orange, just a drop. Okay, and I'm going to show you the difference. Okay, so it's giving a little bit more of a muted blue. Remember, just a drop. If you put too much, it's going to dirty the color. A drop just kind of simply tones it down just a little bit. Okay, so I have my puddle of blue, and I am going to take a big brush, and I'm just going to go, I'm going to take a bigger brush. So I have a big flat brush. And I'm just going to put in my sky area. Now I'm not going to do this very big because this is just a quick demo. Again, this does not have to be perfect. Okay, so I'm going to put that down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm just going to take a piece of it. And I am going to look, you know, you can look at this reference or any other reference, and I am going to take out the clouds. So basically you're drawing with the paper towel. Now I'm sitting outside and it's like 1,000,000 degrees, so this is kind of drying really fast. So I'm having to press a little harder. And see what this is doing, it's giving you some very, very soft edges. So what happens next if you use this technique is you can go about doing different colors. So I'm just taking a little bit of purple just to show you how I can work around them. Take a little bit of maybe some pink. And then you start kind of forming your clouds. So that is the first method where you use a paper towel. You can, you can start the sky darker than this if you want. It's, it's something that you have to play around with quite a bit. The second technique I'm going to show you is going to be basically working around the clouds. So what I'm going to do is I am going to wet this area over here with just water, just plain water. And the reason I'm doing this, and this is called the wet on wet technique, is I don't want to have any harsh edges. I want blurred lines. I don't want to have anything that is going to be too sharp, and you'll see how this is going to work. So again, wet it to where it's wet but not puddled. I'm going to take a slightly smaller brush, and I'm going to, so basically think of this wet area as being your clouds, and now I'm putting in the sky. So I'm going to go just a little bit darker so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And see, what's nice is that the color is going to feather out, and you're going to get really soft edges to your clouds. Let's try maybe a purple one. See, and you're going to start seeing it. The color is going to start dancing around and kind of mingling with the water. And the other colors. And let's try. See, you should see the colors starting to kind of go around. And what's really fun about this is that it kind of forces you to not overthink it, because the paint is going to do what it's going to do, and it's going to kind of go into little areas spread out into the water. So it's kind of as a surprise element, which is kind of fun. So we have the wet on wet technique, which is the one that we just did. Again, you wet your paper to the point where it's saturated but not huddled, and then you start carving out the clouds. So you're actually going around them, thinking of your paper as being all clouds, and you're putting in the sky. And in the first one, we did the blue or any colors that you're going to have in the sky, and then with a paper towel, you will pick out the clouds. You should be able to get whiter clouds than this. Mine just dried so fast because I'm sitting outside and it's really hot. So, so any thoughts, any questions about this? Can we unmute them? Any questions, anyone, about the two techniques? So do you have a preference so far? Anyone have a preference to which one? You don't like any of them?
Right.
Anyone have any questions?
I think wet and wet is interesting because it is more surprise there.
Yes, yes, I think so. And I think in the case of the clouds, it really goes with it, because it's automatically going into that shape, given, you know, that you are going in kind of a circular motion around them. But when you, especially when you start putting in colors, it just looks, it's just so much fun. It's almost like you just step back and let it do its own thing. And of course, if you're doing that and you feel that you've added too much color, you can pick up your paper towel and do that. And with the, any questions about the first one that we did with the paper towel?
Gotta go. Okay.
Okay. All right. If no one has any, Mom, Jerry, are you saying something? Yeah, your audio is not on. I cannot hear you. Yeah, I think you're on now. No. Okay. Yeah, Jerry, I can't, your audio is not on. I see that you're talking, but
it's not, she's unmuted, so it's must be a setting on her computer that doesn't have the audio going.
Yeah. Okay. Let you figure it out, Mom. Okay, so are we ready to start our landscape?
Wait,
the whole thing?
I got it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No, all
Okay.
I wanted to say, and it's nothing brilliant, but I'm using a tissue, and I think that works a lot better than paper towels.
It does. The thing is it's almost like you need one tissue per cloud. The paper towel, you can kind of turn it around. I think also it depends on the paper that you're using. So yeah, I mean, either one. You know, I've seen some people even take like actual paper if you want kind of a more like a sharper sky, you know, like especially if you've got, you know, the clouds all together and you want some sharpness. So some people would actually like use a crumbled paper, and you're going to have some stronger imprints. So either one works.
Yeah,
it's
interesting.
Yeah, so we are going to start our landscape. And this is going to be fun. So we are looking at our color palette. So we are going from greens to yellows to oranges, pinks. There's some strong aqua kind of right before it goes into those hills. Then a strong pink, and then we've got blues, pinks, some lavenders, yellows. This reference, I think, must be an oil painting, I think, and that's kind of always fun to turn that into a different medium. I like looking at art references sometimes because it shows me how the artist dealt with a certain area, and them having the creative freedom gives me like some confidence to try something. I don't know that if I had seen this this landscape like from nature in front of me, that I would think of going as bold as they did with the pinks and those greens. So I think it's just inspiring to see how other people work. So we're going to make this our own, and we are going to start at the bottom. We're going to start with the greens. Again, some of you were asking if you should do this horizontal or vertical. I don't think it really matters. Typically, landscapes are horizontal. That's just their format. This one is square, so either one would be fine. For showing purposes, the vertical works better for me to show you what I'm doing. But I'm kind of going to work on the kind of the upper half of my paper. So I'm kind of working still within the square that they have. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to create a green that.
Hang on, Noelle, let me mute Noelle, let me mute everyone and then unmute you. Hold on one second. Noelle, you'll have to hit the unmute yourself button. Okay, you should be good to go.
Okay, so I'm going to create some really soft greens. These greens, especially at the bottom, they're warm. So adding some yellows, adding some oranges is going to be really pretty with it. So I'm going to take a big brush. I'm going to start with the round one. And I am going to take, oh, that was yellow, sorry. Take some green. I'm gonna try it out. It's still, it's a little sharp. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow to it. I think it'll be fine for some areas. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. I'm gonna mix more green, and I'm gonna do something different now. I'm taking green, and I'm gonna take yellow, and I'm gonna take just a touch of orange. So I'm getting these different greens. Sometimes you can just add a little bit of water to mix them in. I added a little bit more orange to it, so I'm getting kind of this olive color. So what we're going to do for the next few minutes, I want you to mix different greens. So we're working in the bottom section, which has the greens and the yellow greens right before we add the pinks. So let's do that for a little bit. Make sure that you're adding enough water. You want them to be soft. And make sure that you're adding enough yellow, because that's what's giving it kind of that cheery, kind of summery green. You could even add some straight yellow if you wanted. Remember, they don't have to match at all. In fact, you want a variety of greens, and you just use as a guide. You do not need to be putting that strong yellow where they have it or anything like that. If you have more than one green, play around with them and see what other colors they're going to give you. And the nice thing, Ziggy, stop it. Shh, you're gonna have to leave. And the nice thing about working on this section is that it doesn't really have any white. There's nothing I need to leave out. That's what makes painting landscapes so liberating, is that, you know, you can just go. You don't have to be too careful. Oh, there's a, you know, a person here or a chair or anything. You just have like these nice color planes. They are really the best thing to do to practice using watercolors, because you can just go. So I have most of that green here. Some pinks are starting to creep in. So I don't want the transition to be too sudden. So I'm gonna take a little bit of orange to the green. And that's kind of giving me almost like, here, let me show it over here. It's giving me kind of like a, almost like a brownish color. So I'm gonna put that in. And I see some of it over here. So basically why I did that, if I put straight pink, it's gonna look a little bit out of place. So now that I did that, I can more comfortably go and put a pink next to it. So you might have something that looks like a pink in your set, or red with a lot of water is a pink. So I'm gonna just make a little bit of pink, and I'm going to kind of let it just blend in. Let them kind of, you see how pretty that looks? It's not sudden. It had some introduction because the green did not just stop. We incorporated a little bit of the orange, and then we put the red with a lot of water. So the orange has red in it. So that way they kind of belong to each other. And I'm gonna put a little bit of that over here. Now, as I move to the upper part of this color plane, I'm gonna use a stronger pink. But I think in here, I think that's probably enough. I'm gonna take some orange and some red together with lots of water. I'm just gonna kind of just trail this around. Just kind of, you know, just lightly, just see where you're seeing that color. You know, don't force it in. Wherever you see a bit of it, just go with a very light swipe. You don't have to press too hard. So there's another color, pretty color that's creeping in here, and that's kind of like an aqua, like a turquoise. So if you do have that color, you can use that with a lot of water. If you don't, blue and green together will make that turquoise, and you add water, it becomes an aqua. So I do have, okay, so that's kind of the color I'm looking for. And I'm gonna sneak it in. The cool thing is that, you know, all these colors are just, you know, even if they trickle into each other, they really look pretty. And if you like a certain color, like I love turquoise, so I'm really gonna go over and beyond to find more places to put it. And since the turquoise or aqua already has green in it, it's blending in very nicely. Let's see a little bit over here. And right before this hill over here, it almost has a sharpness to it. So I'm gonna go a little bit darker. And I think it's nice, it just gives that area a little bit of depth. And notice that we're not having to wait for anything to dry, which is nice, and that this makes it kind of a one-step painting. Still kind of playing around a little bit, so until it dries, you really don't know 100% what you have. Okay, so I'm going to raise this hill a little bit because I feel that this is a little bit too straight. In a landscape, you want to create some interest. The best way to create interest in composition is to create diagonals. They lead the eye from one corner to the other. So I'm going to give this a little bit more of a slope. So I'm going to go back to green, and that's kind of more of an olive color up there. So I'm going to take a little bit of orange. So I'm getting this kind of, where am I? Okay. So it's a little bit darker, and it's kind of framing that area. So again, that was green with orange. Now, how much to mix is going to be something that comes with practice. I would say just mix it until it looks like the color you want it to be. So I'm going to take a little bit more, and I'm going to sneak it into some other areas that I'm seeing it. You know, you can go in different directions. And always make sure that you, I thought those were gunshots. No, just a motorcycle. So when you're painting and you feel that your brush is kind of staggering, that means that it's time for more paint. If you don't have paint already mixed in, just take a little bit of water and go over that area, because when a paintbrush starts drying, it's going to leave scratchy marks, and you don't want that. You want to have kind of a seamless. Okay. Before I move into the sky, I'm going to take some yellow with that olive color. So I'm getting kind of, and I'm just going to put some in some of the areas where it looks brighter. Ziggy. Okay. So this is not finished, but we are going to start going into the sky. And I'm going to start with this beautiful pink strip that is over here. So now you see how this slight diagonal, Ziggy, come here. This slight diagonal is just giving a little bit more interest. So past that is going to be that pink. Now, if your water is looking green, I usually have 2 containers because I like to keep my colors pure, and I don't like to have to get up and change my water. So if your water is looking a little green, make sure that you get clean water. So I am going to create pinks, which is basically red and water. Now this looks a little strong, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take plain water Go over that, adding a little bit more red, and I'm going to add a little bit of orange to give it some warmth. And I'm adding water because it just appeared to be a little too strong. Okay. And since I have these colors, I'm gonna kind of just sneak it into some areas in here. Make sure that you vary the pinks. So this is kind of a warm pink. I'm putting now just kind of a cooler one, which has a little bit of purple in it. Or magenta. And the reason I chose to have the cooler pink on the top is that I'm getting ready to go into blues. So the cooler pink has a touch of blue in it because it has a little bit of purple. So the purple is blue and red. So it's a nice transition into the blue. It's not going to be sudden. With landscapes, the most important thing that you have to do is make sure that your colors kind of transition nicely. And it doesn't have to be a lot of it. You could just put like a drop of color as you move from one to the other. It's not like painting a rainbow where you're fading into different colors. You just want to make sure that it looks more natural. It just really helps the painting look more cohesive that way. Okay, so I'm going to start going into my sky, and I'm going to take blue. If you still have some of that blue left, you can use some of that. And what I'm going to do with that blue is I'm going to take a little bit of it, and I'm just going to take some of that pink that I had. So it's giving me like, kind of like a purple. And I'm going to go in and put it, doesn't have to be in even doses everywhere. And again, that's giving me even more of a sweeter transition into the blue. So what's going to happen next is you are going to, so we're getting into the clouds, and this is where what we did in the beginning with the two techniques, you can decide which one you want to do. I feel that on this one, I might do both. I think especially the wet on wet would be really pretty because this sky is very colorful, but it's colorful in a very, very soft way. It's very pastel. Having the water down and having the colors kind of bleed into each other is going to make this look very pretty. And I think just for added texturing, I will use the paper towel. I would like to see what everyone has so far before we move on into the clouds. Can you unmute? Okay, Carol, you want to show me what you have? I'll start in the order of how I see people on my screen. Oh, wow, you went into the clouds. Looks great.
Yeah.
Jerry, can I see you? Looks really good, Carol. Jerry?
I'm trying.
Oh, beautiful. Wow. Oh my God, looks great. Sharon?
Oh, it's horrible.
It's
Oh,
not.
Yeah.
I mean, Sharon, and that looks good. The bottom is a little strong. What I would do is I would just take some water right now and just kind of spread it out a little bit. It will just soften the whole effect. That's all you need, a big brush with water. And, you know, Sharon just started with us online. She had not been in the physical classes, and you're just doing amazing. I just wanted to tell you that I can't believe you haven't done this before, and you have to give yourself some credit. And everyone needs to realize that it takes a very long time to get things right. I mean, especially where, you know, as adults, we are able to judge what looks right and what doesn't. Not like kids. You know, kids are just happy with, you know, whatever it is they made because they enjoy the process. For us, we're very critical because we know what things are supposed to look like. Pam? You're almost like, okay. Beautiful. Very nice. Susanna?
I can't see it.
Oh. Beautiful. So you're doing it square, and your frames, your fabulous frames. Your paintings could go like straight into like a frame. They don't need matting or anything. They just have such beautiful edges to them. Really beautiful. Nuera? Wow, gorgeous. Beautiful. Where's your sidekick? No, busy? Andre?
Can't see on that.
And I see Carmen is here, but she's hiding. I miss you, Carmen. There she is. How are you?
See? I'm good. How's everything?
Good. Oh, that looks really beautiful. I love seeing how, you know, it's funny how some have more of a coral pink, some have more of a like a
Pink.
you know, like a dusty pink. Like I love seeing how each person is doing the color differently, and you know that's what makes art. That's what makes your piece unique, because there really are no restrictions. I mean, there are some rules to getting things right, you know, taking something a step further. Okay, so we're going to go into the sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on it in sections because it's going to dry real quick. So I'm going to start over here with, I'm going to put some water, and I'm going to start carving out some of those clouds. So the clouds at the bottom are a
Noelle, you'll need to unmute yourself. I just muted everyone.
Okay, I will repeat. Okay. Am I?
You're good. You're good.
Okay, so what I was saying is that I am going to start in sections because I'm sitting outside, it's hot and it's gonna dry. So I'm gonna put water at the bottom, right past those pink hills, or I think they're hills or something, or the bottom of the sky. And the clouds in our reference, they kind of start like very close together. They almost look as they go higher up, and they start having a little bit more formation. So I'm going to wet, and the colors that I'm having blue with some lavender. So blue and a little bit of purple is what I'm going to be using. So I am going to wet this. And then I'm going to take blues, and what I'm doing is I'm painting around the clouds. Again, at the bottom, they're not very defined. So basically your area is the clouds. And so when you're doing this, if you feel that there's a certain area that needed to have a little bit more white, like over here, I'm just going to take, so kind of combining both techniques. And I'm just going to pick out more of the white. Okay. So as the color is moving up, the blue is getting a little bit more strength. There's almost a shot of turquoise in there, in here. And because your area is wet, the colors are kind of going to, you know, blend in really nicely. Okay, so I'm going to move further up. Now, using yellow in clouds is important because it's picking it up from the sun. You always want to make sure that you include it, and where you put it is kind of crucial. I mean, you want to put it right where the cloud seems to be the puffiest. To me, that seems where the yellow is going to be. So on towards the right, there's kind of a little bit of yellow and it goes up. So again, I'm going to wet, so we're moving up, I'm going to wet the area. And this is where you want to be a little careful. If I want to kind of move the yellow away from the blue, because if they mix together, I'm going to get green. And that's probably just one of the colors that you hardly have. If it mixes a little bit, it'll be fine, but you want to try to keep it a little separate. So I'm going to just take some yellow. Just very little. You don't want it to be too strong. And I'm just going to put it in. So see, it's away from the blue. It's not mixing in with the blue. And just have some water beads over here. And then as we move further up, that yellow is becoming a little bit more orange. So I'm going to take a little bit of orange, add it to that yellow. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit because I don't want my blue to mix in it. And then on the left side, we're seeing some really nice strong blues. So I'm actually mixing blue and turquoise, and I did not wet this area because I don't feel that I really need to. But then I'm going to go back and I'm going to wet the area around it. And realize that I'm kind of staying away from this part over here that has the yellow and the oranges because I don't want them to mix in. And I'm going to take a little bit of purple with the blue. And I can see kind of a nice chunk of it over here. So again, it's the wet on wet. If it's trickling or going where you don't want it, or you want a little bit, you know, carve out a little bit more clouds, you can just take your paper towel. But you can see how it's really starting to form. Up here also, I'm going to wet that. And it has a really nice crisp blue. I think I'm safe to go to this area. And again, I'm letting it, you know, kind of sweep over it, but I don't want it to mix in. Okay. We have a few minutes left, so what I'm going to do is I want to give these clouds just a little bit more definition because they do have some areas where there is a little bit of a darker color, and that's going to help give that feeling of them being suspended and like they have a little bit of shadows to them. So I'm going to take a thinner brush. I've got this brush, and I am going to take some of the colors that I already used, but I'm not going to use them with that much water because I want them to be a little bit darker. And I am going to, like for example, over here, I can see that. So I'm just doing like some really small marks wherever I'm seeing it darker, just a little bit. And notice that I'm going kind of with a circular motion with my brush, and that way it's going to blend right in. There's a nice little pocket over here. You know, basically what you're doing is you're working with blues, but you're adding a little bit of purple to one. You're adding a little bit of aqua to one, maybe some reds. And if you want it to be kind of a little cloudy, a little bit more gray, again, orange is a color that will just give it a slight mute. Like over here, you see I blew with just a little bit of orange, just a touch, just enough to just quiet the color a little bit. And I'm also going to use it over here. And I see it up over here. Now you can see just these very small brush strokes. Very few of them are making a huge difference. They're giving a lot of dimension to the clouds. I'm going to add some water. I felt that this was too strong. And you know, just when you do this step, just be careful. Don't put them randomly. You know, use your reference and see where they are, because they are there because of the way the light is hitting everything. I'm going to take this kind of darker blue. I'm just going to define some of these areas. And I think that's it. It needs a little bit more work, but I think these techniques, and from what I can see from your paintings, I think these are working. It just comes with practice, and also, you know, sometimes your reference, especially if you're using a photograph, you might have to play around a little bit with the composition of the clouds, because you know, you don't want like angles that are awkward or a shape that looks weird, unless you're attempting to do something, you know, surreal. So, you know, just keeping the clouds kind of in the more classical puffy way that we know them, vary the size of them, and that should work. Does anyone have any questions or observations or anything about the clouds, especially? Jerry? You need to unmute.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. No, I just wanted to say this was really fun.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know what
I have a question. Did you use any black?
I did not.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. Everybody applaud me. Everybody.
This is, most of you know that this is my mom, and she challenges me. It's payback, I think. And she always uses the colors she's not supposed to, but she is so talented, honestly. And
Nah. Thank you.
She's not always the most patient person.
Yeah, but I like this because it doesn't need a lot of patience, you know.
This is a lighthearted subject. I mean, and I think that honestly, no matter how you do it, it's going to look beautiful because you're using beautiful colors. It's cheery. Carol, can I see yours?
Very pretty, Carol.
Beautiful. The clouds look awesome. Sharon, are you ready to show us?
If you want to see it, but
I
know I'm going to start over and do it completely over.
Okay.
But
Okay.
no, I don't like it at all. I really don't.
Wow.
Okay, if you don't, then I'm not gonna say anything. I think just the heaviness at the bottom, maybe,
Yeah.
sometimes when
I
we're
don't
working,
like the-
something might throw us off, but I think the clouds look really good. I mean,
Do
you're
you?
definitely.
I think I need to work on them. But
Pam?
I mean, sometimes, you have to figure out which brush
You-
it is, and I'm not good at doing that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
also, I need to buy some new brushes. I don't know.
okay. Good, bro. If you want to email me, and where do you, and just tell me where you buy your supplies from, and I'll guide you to what to get if you want. Okay. Susanna? Gorgeous. Oh, look at that. That's a happy painting. This is what we need. We all need to pretend that we're in that landscape. Nuera?
Ooh.
Oh, that is gorgeous. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. Andre?
Should I know how to do that, Kim? Andrea.
Got it, Andre? Maybe she can't hear me. Okay. Oh, yeah, you're doing it. Just a little bit higher. There you go. Very nice. Carmen, you want to show us? Or did she bail already?
Okay, can you see
Melissa?
it? Can you see?
Yes, part of it.
Yeah.
Nice. Are you using watercolor paper? Is it? Okay, we're having audio issues. Melissa, did you paint with us?
I was not able to today.
Melissa, did you paint with us?
I was not able to.
Oh, you looked like you were, but
Yeah.
okay. Well, these are great. Please make sure you send me pictures of your work, and if you do any kind of spin-offs or if you add anything, I'd love to see it. Have a great day, and I will see you next week.